Hey, today we're journeying through Genesis 37, exploring Joseph's dreams, his brother's betrayal, and the beginnings of a destiny shaped by God. Our story begins in Genesis 37, where we meet Joseph, one of Jacob's 12 sons. Joseph was Jacob's favorite, and this caused quite a stir among his brothers. But the real drama kicks off when Joseph shares two powerful dreams. In the first dream, Joseph sees sheaves of grain. His sheaf stands upright, while his brothers' sheaves bow down to it. Then comes the second dream. The sun, moon, and 11 stars bow down to him. Genesis 37:5-11. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. The brothers weren't exactly thrilled. In fact, these dreams only fueled their jealousy and anger. But Joseph wasn't just a dreamer. He was part of God's grand plan. One day, Jacob sends Joseph to check on his brothers who are tending the flocks. This errand sets the stage for betrayal. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the ornate robe he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into the cistern. The cistern was empty. There was no water in it. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed. So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. Genesis 37:23-28. Betrayed by his own brothers, Joseph is sold into slavery. His dreams seem crushed, but God's plan is still unfolding. Back home, the brothers have to cover their tracks. They take Joseph's robe, dip it in goat's blood, and present it to Jacob, leading him to believe his beloved son is dead. Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in the blood. They took the ornate robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe." He recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "I will continue to mourn until I join my son in the grave." So his father wept for him. Genesis 37:31-35. Jacob's grief is overwhelming. But even in this moment of despair, God's hand is at work, setting the stage for Joseph's rise to power in Egypt. What seemed like a series of unfortunate events was actually a divine training ground. Joseph's story is a powerful reminder that God can use even our darkest moments for his glory. His path from a pit to a palace was no accident. It was purpose. So, what can we learn from Joseph's journey? Trust in God, even when the road seems tough. He's got a plan, and it's bigger than we can imagine. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and join us next time for another Bible adventure. Vocabulary for today's lesson. 1. Betray, Deepen, to be disloyal or unfaithful to someone. Example, Joseph's brothers betrayed him by selling him to the Ishmaelites. 2. Cistern, Shushwechi, a large container for storing water. Example, the brothers threw Joseph into an empty cistern before selling him. 3. Despise, be sure, to feel contempt or a deep dislike for someone. Example, Joseph's brothers despised him because of his dreams and their father's favoritism. 4. Mourn, idao, to feel or show deep sorrow or regret, often after someone's death. Example, Jacob mourned for Joseph for many days, believing he was dead. Wu, destiny, mingyun, the events that will necessarily happen to a particular person or thing in the future. Example, despite his hardships, Joseph's destiny was to become a great leader in Egypt. Keep practicing these words and soon you'll master English while learning the amazing stories of the Bible. See you next time.